Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. Johnny can piss me off sometimes. I mean, has he ever really heard of knocking? And I get that when he walked on in, this was Susan's old room. And he walked in there and he started throwing accusations about EJ with Nicole. And I was like, bro, listen, you haven't been catching up on what's been going on with Nicole's life and everything that transpired since you probably last talked to her, last heard the news. So after he realized that, she's no longer going to be married to Rafe and that she was staying there for the night because she didn't really have anywhere else to stay, she apologized to him. I mean, he apologized to Nicole. He apologized to EJ because he was only trying to do something nice. I mean, here's the thing. I know EJ has a reputation of being, well, practically the devil at this point, okay? But every now and then he can actually do something nice just to do something nice. Um, so I'm glad he did apologize for that. But of course, he has to then bring up the whole, oh, you knew that Stefan was brainwashed, you didn't do anything. And it's like, the thing about Johnny and the thing about characters that are younger, like Johnny and Josh from GH and stuff like that, the way that they judge the adults in their lives or the people that's older in their lives, it's like, well, you get to do that because you haven't lived as long as them. You know, when you get older, you do things, you make mistakes, you compromise yourself. There's all sorts of things that you do, and it's very easy to judge when you haven't lived as long as EJ and Carly and Sunny and stuff like that. So I always find that to be just irritating, you know? Like, come back and talk to EJ in a few years when you get to his age. Um, so Eric and Sloan are bonding over pain and loss and stuff like that, and Eric agrees to have Sloan represent him. Meanwhile, Bella is feeling bad. Yeah, Eric is being a jerk and everything like that, but he's in a lot of pain and um, just the thought of her big brother just like spending the night in jail, angry and stuff like that. She doesn't like it, so she wants to represent him. But when Eric comes upstairs, Sloan is already, he already sits there and tells them that Sloan is his lawyer. They go back and forth. He actually defends Sloan. He defends Sloan with the whole Chanel thing and just, calling her names. Now, even though EJ did make the call to Melinda, as far as I don't want to prosecute Eric. Melinda still wants to win, okay, and Melinda is going to get a win any way she can. And although this does come across as a desperate win, there's something to be said about um, assaulting the officer and just being like, oh, it's okay. Like, that's not allowed and that shouldn't be okay. And yeah, their family and stuff like that, or, whatever, but it still just sets a precedent. So Sloan is like, yo, Melinda tells Sean that, she still wants Eric prosecuted for the assault, and she's going to go over his head to do it, seeing how they got witnesses, calling Sean to testify. He's going to be screwed. Eric is going to be screwed. Sloan makes one call to Melinda, like, yo, you remember that evidence that I gave you for the slam dunk case? So, you got me, right? Next thing you know, Melinda drops the charges, and the dude walks. They're having breakfast, they're hanging out. Erica's appreciative of what she did. Nicole sees them, and I'm just like, Nicole, you should have just kept walking. He doesn't want to see you. And now, granted, that whole night, yesterday and today, she felt bad for Eric. Yeah, she didn't like the way that Eric was Smith there treating her and everything like that, but, she still does love him and she still does have sympathy despite what went down the night before. So, but she goes over there and she's like, hey, I just want to see how you're doing, yada, yada, yada. Um, Eric is just like, bro, this dude just had jail food, okay? Now, if you watch my channel long enough, there's certain things I always sit there and say that is very sacred and just don't mess it up, okay? Abby did this on Y&R, and she's doing this now. Don't mess with somebody while they're eating their breakfast, okay? It's one of the three things that I find sacred. I mean, granted, there's more things down the list, but just sit there and reiterate: video games, porn, and food. Not mess with one of those three, and we'll get along just fine. And here comes Nicole just walking over. Hey, leave him alone. He wanted no parts of you last night. He was angry with you last night. He just spent the night in jail. And you gonna walk over there and start trying to talk to him. So Sloan, gives her a handshake like, hey, I'm Sloan or whatever. And I didn't think that Nicole was actually going to shake her hand. But, she did. And of course, Sloan was like, oh, you're so-and-so, so-and-so, because you've been married to X, Y, and Z. Just basically saying, like, I know exactly who you are from A to Z. As she says, her reputation precedes her. I don't know who actually says that in this world now. I feel like that's just a TV line that people use because no one says that. I can't think of one person I've ever walked to, I've ever talked to, that have said that. I think it just comes across as so cheesy and cringy. So while Chanel and Paulina are visiting each other, Abe comes in there, and Abe is like, yeah, I got some bad news. I can't get you out of this. Because he tried to reach out to contacts or whatever, see, what he can do as far as getting these charges removed or whatever. And I'm like, Paulina, see, when she was saying there's nothing you can do to get these charges removed, I was like, this is exactly what you got you in this position in the first place. It's by you trying to use your influence, your money, status, and stuff like that to try to get charges dropped and removed and things of that nature. It's like you don't get it, do you? Like, bro, this is literally the end of the line. You wouldn't be in this position in the first place if you would have had Chanel take some accountability towards what happened. Now, on top of everything else, Abe is being asked by the people above him to step down because of the whole, mess with Chanel and Paulina and everything, and her cover up and her part in this whole thing. Of course, Chanel is guilty and everything like that, but I'm like, this is more on Paulina. Paulina is the one that's kind of dragging everyone down. Let's just be very clear about this. There's a point where I guess that person calls back and Paulina snatches the phone and Paulina's like, yo, listen, he's not stepping down. He's not stepping down. And at first I was like, what are you gonna do? You gonna give him a divorce or something like that? Like how do you? Well, what's gonna end up happening because of optics and everything? She's like, no, I'm just not gonna swear. I'm not gonna swear in as governor, which makes sense to be honest. Because if she did, she really wouldn't be on the show, and so that just wouldn't really work out. When you really think about it, this is why I don't think that whole election. This is why I didn't think that she was really going to take the job in the first place. Because if she would have took the job, she really wouldn't have been on here as often, or may not have been on there for a while. Um, yeah, I just didn't think it was actually going to work out in the long run. So when she said that she was stepping down, or she was, not even going to take the position, I was like, yeah, this seems about right. Because I mean, in reality, what would Abe do? If he's not the mayor of the city, I mean, I know at one point he was probably like working with the cops or he was a commissioner or whatever, but like, I just don't see him really doing anything else when you really think about it. Ray Fisnett there checking in on Jada, finding out that she had the procedure done and finding out the reasons why, and also the fact that Nicole had some influence in it, and of course he wasn't happy about that. But again, Jada knew most likely what she was doing. And, she even said that if she was committed to this baby, she wouldn't have let Nicole stop her from doing what she did. This was her choice alone. Um, they also find out that Eric, you know, spent the night in jail, locked up with EJ, assaulting someone, and Jada was really surprised, and Rafe was like, yeah, you pretty much kind of dodged a bullet there. Um, he even said he pretty much foreshadowed, like, this is going to be a long way down for Eric, as far as spiraling. And you can see it in some ways. I mean, him hanging out with Sloane, I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be a romance there at some point, but. And I know part of Sloane, the reason why she was talking to Eric, maybe Eric just has this presence. You ever just met somebody that you could just talk to? You could just share your secrets with? Like, they're just really easy to talk to. Like you just feel, then, you just feel like you could just open up to that person. And that's the type of presence that Eric is. Even though that he's not a priest anymore, um, he just still gives off that presence. Now, I will sit there and say this, and I know this is kind of sidelining a little bit, but in the beginning, when I first started watching the show, it took me a minute because with Eric's character, I was so used to him being lucky on GH. But oddly, I actually enjoy him more on Days than I did on GH. Like, it took me a while, but I was like, I can see that, especially with Eric and just his morality and everything like that, and just how far he's fallen. I mean, one minute he's not there helping people out in um I forgot that foreign country he was in, that he was doing his priesthood and helping people with, I have no idea what, because they never really said. All they kept saying was, oh, he's doing good works. And somebody list those good works or stuff he was doing to him getting drunk, getting drunk, driving drunk, assaulting EJ, which, to be fair, EJ kind of brings it out on people, but assaulting a police officer and then really sitting there going after his sister, it gives him a lot more range, is what it really comes down to. Of course, there was that whole little, pill popping thing when he was on GH, but still. I think I can really start to appreciate him more as Eric than I could as Lucky. There's a point that Chanel got really upset, and she realizes that her mistake or what she did when she was in college is really affecting her family. It's affecting her mother. It's affecting her stepdad. He's practically getting fired. It's just a giant mess. So she's like, oh, she gets all really frustrated, whatever, and she just leaves. And I'm just like, well, where did she go? She just went home. That was it. She just went home. I thought she was gonna do something reckless or something, or confront Sloane, or I don't know, anything. But it was like, no, just went home. And then Johnny, after he got off his high horse with EJ, decided to pay Chanel a visit to see Jay Wen. I'm gonna try to start calling her more Jay Wen than Wendy, because it's just like, eh. I mean, again, Wendy's not a bad name, but I just like Jay Wen a lot better. Comes over there, talks to Chanel, and he finds out about the secret and everything that she did in her past. Now she was ashamed for it and stuff like that. And, he's just being there for her, being supportive and everything. Of course, Allie's probably going to sit there and take that the wrong way. Maybe, I don't know. With her emotions and everything like that, it's just like, well, it depends on which way the wind blows. So I guess we'll just wait and see. I can't really think of anything else that happened in this episode. I feel like it was kind of a little longer than it needed to be. It was weird because yesterday was only like 31 minutes, and today he tacked on like, I don't know, 7 extra minutes, and I didn't really see the point of it. I mean, there was a lot of stuff with Sean and Bella, and I felt like they could have kind of cut it down a little bit. I mean, not too much, because Bella, again, she did feel bad for Eric, despite the fact that he was just acting like a jerk. She still felt bad. But some of that stuff throughout this episode, they could have kind of cut it down a little bit. Especially Nicole and her flip flopping. That was a scene that I felt like they didn't even really need to have. 1 minute she's sitting there talking about, oh, EJ, I don't think that we need to live here. Next thing EJ's like, no, you need to do this because this, that, and the third. Okay. Like, did we really need to see that? I know they have this thing on YouTube called The Cutting Floor. And it's usually for stuff that doesn't usually make the scene. Sometimes it's really good. Like, they had a scene with Justin and Jack. And Jack wanted Justin to represent Gwen. You know, in the episode, you just see the fact that Justin was representing Gwen, and Gwen was like, "Oh, I can't believe he did that." You know, he's representing me. But there was a point where Jack was talking to Justin about why he wanted Gwen to be represented by him, and I felt like maybe that was a part they could have kept. But at the same time, I understood that they probably could have left it out a little bit too. So it's kind of actually no that they could have kept. My point is sometimes they don't need to actually have every single scene in the show to make it work. And I felt like there was some scenes they could have just left out. Now towards the end of the episode, EJ gets a knock on the door, and apparently the butler is nowhere to be found because they are never nowhere to be found because, well, we just don't have money for an extra. So, cool, we got rich people answering their own doors. And he opens the door and he's like, you. And I'm like, who is you? Now, it could be Sammy, it could be anyone. Now, this is a question that since I brought up Sammy, and we all saw the previews where we have the quote unquote Charlie's Angels. Will Sammy come to Salem when Marlena dies? That's the question. Because, I mean, she didn't come there when they were sick. Now, apparently, EJ and Sammy's daughter, had some sort of issues. Who knows what they were, but apparently she couldn't be. I don't want to say she couldn't be bothered, but she couldn't make time to go there to see her because, well, the actress is doing Hallmark movies or Lifetime movies or Christmas movies, you know, those usual movies that you can sit there and find at the bargain bin for like $4.99 or $2.99, let's be honest. But, you know, the actress is doing other things or whatever, but I'm just wondering, are they going to get her for, you know, that scene? Days has this way of just having magic and working things out where I think if it was another show, it might have proved to have been damn near impossible. I would sit there and say. Days do find a way to make it happen, and I am always intrigued by that. Anyway, I feel like that's pretty much about it. With that being said, I'm going to go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe, and I'll see you in the next video.